All right, so now that we have the CanLight blueprint working, we have other options available to us in terms of turning the light on and off. So in the last video, we looked at how to use the trigger on our controller to do that. But as you can tell and know already, there's not a lot of buttons on the controllers themselves. So I want to explore one other way we can turn those lights on and off. And we're going to do that by creating a collision volume. So if I go into my add component menu and I type box, I'm going to choose box collision. And this is essentially a bounding box that I'm going to scale. And that silly, you know, um, bug that I was talking about earlier, if you see me renaming these things, it's total accident. So we're just going to go back and call this box. So what I need to do is take this and scale it up so that it's the appropriate size. So I'm going to come into my viewport and hit the G key so I can see it. And right now we're going to get we're actually going to get like a box for every single one of these, which I guess doesn't really matter. If I had been planning this out, I probably would have had just, all the lights combined into one blueprint rather than having all of them separate, but whatever. So what I need to do now is make sure that this collision box is in the right place so that when we interact with it, we actually literally walk into it. So I've got a bunch going on here. This is going to get difficult to see, so let's kill some of these. So I'm going to go into my CanLight blueprints here, and I'm going to delete all except this last one. Okay, so we can see the bounding box in our blueprint much more easily when we're looking at it in the scene. So let's get back, and it doesn't have to be huge, but it should be big enough to where we can manage to get inside. So let's say we go this way, and let's actually make this a little smaller, work a little harder to get in there, like that. Okay, so now that we've done that, the idea behind this, now that we have it placed properly, and we're sort of upside down here, by the way, if you haven't noticed, my CanLight, I think I modeled it with the orientation the other way. But now what I need to do is go to the event graph. And rather than using a trigger, we're going to use a different method altogether. So I'm going to hold the Alt key and disconnect that wire. And then I'm going to take the box item right here in our component list. I'm going to right click on it and go add event, and I'm going to choose add on component begin overlap. And what this is going to do is basically cause an event when something with collision overlaps that box. So by itself, and we already know this in class, by itself the headset and the controllers don't have any collision on them. So in this case, if I try to make this work right now, it's not going to, because for whatever reason, this VR pawn doesn't have a collision object inside of it that would trigger this event. So what I'm going to do is select my VR pawn, and you'll notice when I have it selected, there's a series of elements here, and there's an edit blueprint button. If I was to click on my CanLight blueprint, you would see there's my series of elements, and there's the Edit Blueprint button. So the VR Pawn is a blueprint. We're going to hit Edit and choose Open Blueprint Editor. And in here, we just need to go to, there's a lot going on. We'll get to this later. We're going to go to the viewport, and in the Add Component button, we're going to type sphere, and we're going to grab a sphere collision. And honestly, it could just stay right where it is. But what we want to do is make sure we parent it to the camera. So I'm going to left click drag it, and you'll notice that it kind of like falls under and slightly diagonal to the camera. That means that I've attached it essentially. So if the camera moves, this sphere collision will move too. And I'm going to hit compile. And now what I need to do is close this and test it. So we'll hit play, grab our headset, and teleport in, and there's the light. It turned on. So now if I teleport out, the light has turned off. If I teleport in, the light turns back on. Okay, so now what I want to do is, oh, sorry, it shouldn't be turning off. It should be on. And I have it backward, actually. So, or it's sensitive. I'm like right on the edge or something. Let's see. Actually, sorry, there's so many variations. The toggle visibility is basically acting like a switch. So I turn it on by going in, and then it next time I go in, it turns it off. Right. So what I want to do is change that so that it goes off when I leave the box collision. I don't want it to like go back and forth. So that's a pretty easy thing to do, actually. All we're going to do is go back to the box, and we're going to right click. We're going to go add event, and we're going to say end overlap. So now what we can do, and we can do this a few different ways, but now what I'm going to do is right click. I'm going to pull a wire actually from Spotlight. This will be easier. And I'm going to say set visibility instead of toggle. So we'll move that toggle out of the way. And set visibility, we'll pull a wire, and we're going to say new visibility. Then we're going to take this guy and hit Control W. And we're going to drag the spotlight to the target, and we're going to change so that now the end overlap, you'll notice I unchecked new visibility. So what this is going to do is when I enter the box, visibility will turn on. When I move away or leave the box, the light will turn off. So we'll hit compile, and I want to make sure I turned it on earlier. The spotlight should start. Okay, it should not be on when we start. So hit compile, say okay, and then we'll give this a go. So right there, light is on. Right there, light is off. On, off. And I think if you're good with the hand controller, you can kind of lean over your shoulder and teleport backward. So off and on. Now, obviously, I could extend that box and make it come on, without me being directly under it. There's any number of combinations, but that is basically the second way to activate or trigger some kind of an event. So we don't always need to use the buttons. We can use the overlap function in the blueprint.